After 40 years of guitar experience and teaching over 10,000 one-on-one lessons, I've distilled the 5 most essential things you need to master blues soloing. These time-tested cornerstones have been embraced by all the blues legends. I'll explain why each is crucial and provide you with free resources to help you adopt them. The last 2 tips are my personal favorites and will make the biggest impact on your playing. Let's dive in. Forms. How many forms is enough? What I'm talking about is blues forms. If you're a beginner, 1 form is going to be enough, but ultimately you want to get to 5 forms. Why is that? 5 or more. And I say that because there's really only 5 forms. But when we're talking about a form, we're talking about a place that we can go on the neck, in this case, the A blues form 1. And we want to be able to just play that without even thinking too much. Now, the reason I say beginners just focus on 1 is because really we're talking about the same 6 notes all over the neck. So you can find the notes anywhere in any one of those forms. However, what is really important as a beginner is to really just get familiar with one little area. I'm going to cover this later in this video as well. But ultimately, we want to get to 5 different forms, the 5 different forms all over the neck. And the reason for that is that some licks work better in different places on the neck than others, okay? You might find yourself preferring some forms over others, and some are just more convenient, more comfortable in certain keys, okay? For instance, if we took this basic lick, that's a basic blues lick there, you're gonna hear that a ton. If we were to do that here in a different part of the neck, you can do that easily, finding it right here, and the lick would be, but no respectful blues player would play it there. I say that jokingly. It's just uncomfortable to play it there. So this makes a lot more sense. So I would need to know at least 2 forms to be able to do that there. Another example would be this lick right here. You know, if I wanted to play that, that's on strings 1 and 2. If I wanted to play that on strings 2 and 3, okay, so right there, that one makes a lot more sense because it's right underneath my finger. So again, 1 form for beginners, 5 forms if you really want to be great at blues guitar. Number 2 is borrowing from the legends. Whether you call it learning, stealing, borrowing, whatever, licks, turnarounds, that sort of thing. Friends, this is how we learn how to play blues guitar. So just like we learned to speak from our family and we learned their dialect and their little phrases that they say and you know, the volume at which they speak and what have you, that's how we develop our speech pattern. In the same way, you're going to develop your speech pattern or your playing pattern, if you will, by listening to your favorite blues legends, okay? And what I mean by stealing is you're taking a lick, you're embellishing on it, you're learning it, it becomes part of your vocabulary. So in the same way, you know, someone doesn't say, well, those words that you're saying are just stolen from somebody else. No, of course not. They're assets that we use to emote, right? And to tell people about what it is that we're feeling. We use words. In that same way, when you're learning these licks, they will become part of you. They will assimilate into you. Sometimes you'll play them just outright note for note, and then other times they're going to become part of you. But nonetheless, I can promise you, they will be part of who you are, and it's not going to sound, someone's not going to listen to a lick and go, oh my gosh, you stole that from so-and-so. Unless it's a very obvious lick, okay? But when it comes to blues, these licks have been played so many times that it's hard to say who ever invented any of them, okay? And so we gravitate towards the things that we like, the licks that we like, and we stray away from the things that we don't. Common sense. The things that you like and things that you don't like may be different than your buddy who likes different things and does not like different things, right? And so the combination of those things, that unique combination of those 2 things, creates our ultimate musical voice, and in this case, our blues voice, right? So if you love Jimi Hendrix and everything Jimi Hendrix did, chances are your playing is going to sound a little bit more like Hendrix than the guy who loves Stevie Ray Vaughan and absorbs all of his licks, okay? So you've heard the expression, the 5 people you surround yourself with is who you'll become. In the same way, the people who you listen to, the licks that you learn, the music that you listen to and that you play all the time is going to be absorbed by you, and it's going to come out in your playing, whether you want it to or not. You can prevent it some way if you see what it is that you're doing that sounds like that particular player, but at the end of the day, you're going to become the players who you're listening to. Let me give you an example. This very classic blues lick, right, that goes, you've heard that one a million times, right? If Angus Young, right, in You Shook Me All Night Long. Whereas Jimmy Page in Stairway to Heaven played that lick similar like this. Okay, so slightly different. I used it many years later in a solo when I was 16 years old, my first band, first time in the studio. I played it like. So I threw in a little, so it's not completely blues, but 9/10 of that is blues. I throw in one little diatonic note there that's kind of outside the blues scale. But nonetheless, you can see that that lick sounded different. And I can guarantee you that you've heard this lick so many other ways in music. Again, borrow, steal, learn people's licks because it will become part of your vocabulary. Number 3, call and response. So call and response is when, as a musician, you play something and somebody else plays something back. So a few examples of this would be like in gospel music, a pastor or a song leader sings a line and the congregation or the choir responds, right? Or say like in blues and jazz, a soloist plays a phrase and another musician answers with a complementary phrase, right? Or in rock and pop, bands often will do this, in a live situation where they'll say, oh, oh, that sort of thing. So it's basically just the idea of a phrase is played and then it's repeated by another player. You see, call and response allows us to develop our ears and our eyes as well as the development of phrasing, okay? So whether right or wrong, whenever we play the phrase, the answer, it must fit into a phrase or a section of time, okay? Also similar to maybe like learning a language where somebody says something and you repeat it the same way. Now let's think about that for just a moment. If we're learning a new language, it's obviously someone's going to say something and it's going to be difficult the very first time that we hear it because it's foreign to us, and it's going to be foreign to actually say the thing. So I want you to really embrace this and understand this because when you're learning blues or anything for that matter, it's always awkward at first and people go, this isn't my thing because it feels awkward. No, it feels awkward to everybody. You got to press through to that, right? You got to push through. So we're teaching somebody a language and they're going to enunciate it a certain way with certain cadence and certain rhythmic fashion and that sort of thing. And so in order for us to learn it correctly, we're going to say it the same way that they do, right? If they're teaching us correctly. So same thing with call and response. So what call and response is, and by the way, I have some videos of call and response here on YouTube. Just search YourGuitarSage call and response. But essentially, when you have usually like a 4-bar phrase or a 2-bar phrase. One player plays something, then the other person answers it. You can answer it with the exact lick itself, which is a great tool to learn, to get your eyes and your ears keen. Or you can complement it. So you can play something that's, basically what they just played, but a complement to it. Or something entirely different, but yet again, complements it, just like a conversation. How are you doing today? I'm doing great. That's the call and that's the response. Get into call and response, start searching, use my videos that I have here for you. Do it, do it, do it, do it. I promise you, it will absolutely change your playing and it's going to help with your phrasing. Number 4, learn blues from the minimalistic blues approach. Let me explain. Just like I said, as a young player, you would want to, and what I mean by young is a new player, you would want to just maybe learn one form and get really good at that. But ultimately, you want to learn all the 5 forms because it's going to take you a lot of different places that one form won't allow you to do, right? Well, in the same way, minimalistic blues is an approach to playing blues where basically you just learn 6 notes. Think about it for just a moment. The blues scale is the pentatonic scale, which is the 5-note scale, plus the flat 5. It's a 6-note scale. So we can have all of these forms spanning, across 22 frets you know, and all the different strings times all the different notes, we're gonna have a lot more than 6 notes on there, right? But essentially we got the 6 notes, the same 6 notes repeated over and over again. But here's the deal. We wanna really get to know the notes as if they're second nature, right? Just like riding a bike. We want, or learning a language or driving a car, right? Think about it. If you have too much thrown at you when you're, say, learning to ride a bike or learning to drive a car or something like that, you're gonna be freaked out. I remember teaching my boy how to ride, and he was just, you know, this, and we all were, because all of our faculties were in not crashing. Same thing is going to be true when you're just playing blues at first, because you have all these notes, all these licks, all these things people are telling you, all these YouTube teachers telling you this, that, and the other thing. But if you really break it down to just, we're talking about 6 notes here. Just get to know those 6 notes in one area of the neck. Don't go to different areas of the neck until you really get that one area of the neck down pat. Reason being is, bringing in more areas of the neck is just going to complicate things more. Just like if you were riding or driving and someone's reading a manual to you about how the car should work. It's like, that's not going to help. I just need to not hit people right now. So if you take it from this minimalistic approach, you're going to learn those 6 notes just as if they were part of your language. And the cool thing about this minimalistic blues approach is, I'll show you an example here. Here I am in this green box that you can see at the top there. I've got that flat 7 and the 1, the flat 3, and the 4. I could keep going, flat 5 and 6, but essentially we have these 4 notes. And what I want to show you is I could play this lick, or I could bring it down here to the red spot, the red rectangle, or I can move it down to the blue rectangle. Right? And we even have a yellow rectangle on there and a tan rectangle. And basically, those are the different places that you could play these exact same licks all over the neck. So again, if you approach blues playing from this minimalistic standpoint, just get the one area down. And friends, let me tell you, this is the #1 thing. This and the next one are the 2 best things, but this minimalistic approach to blues is the #1 thing that you gotta do. Number 5 is blues visual jam tracks. So unless you have a band who will play in any key for as long as you want while you learn the blues, you're gonna need some jam tracks, and more specifically, some visual blues jam tracks, because visual jam tracks allow you to see the chords as they go by. If you know the importance of this, if you've heard the importance from great guitar players that talk about you gotta know what the chord is so that you can reference it while you're playing, then my friends, this is exactly what you need. So obviously we can go down the rabbit hole a lot further with all of these bits and pieces, and I do so in a lot of my videos on YouTube and also in the free course that I'm giving you today, right now. So in the link in the description of this video, I've got that mini course for you. It has a couple of different jam tracks for you, visual jam tracks, also the whole bit about minimalistic blues. Friends, that will change your blues playing forever. I can promise you that. So thanks so much for watching this video. Thumbs up, share it with a friend, leave your comments, all that stuff below. Did I miss any? Please let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.